Ken Cunningham's sporting career is without parallel. He played 97 first-class matches, scored 5,497 runs at an average of 37. He was a member of the Redbacks Shield sides that won the title in 63 and 69.
And 71.
Yeah, and 79.
Sort of remind you of something.
He
wasn't that good.
He toured New Zealand under Les Favell in 1904.
Now you're at your best.
He then took up umpiring, to the disdain of so many people. He averaged 130 games. He umpired 2 state games, and he was awarded the South Australian Umpires Hall of Fame Award. He's also an AO, is that right?
Correct, yes. I don't know why, Tony, but I am. And I'm very grateful.
It annoys many people, that award. That was made to Ken in 1990. He, I said, umpired 130 games, 2 premierships, and he also umpired 2 state games. At the end of his sporting career, he was too old and then was talked into going into wireless, as he called it. He said, no, KG, it's called radio. He said, it was wireless when I was growing up. Ken, a very good afternoon. It's lovely to see you again. And tell me, how did you get along with Bradman? This could take a while.
Well, no, but thank you for that very kind intro, Pilko. And look, I'm delighted to be here today, and thank you for your very warm welcome. Look, I was just a very average umpire, very average footballer, but I was lucky enough to be involved in sport, and I've lived the charmed life. I've been blessed. If I was to fall off the perch today, I'd have no complaints whatsoever, because it's just been a wonderful life. I can remember your question now about Sir Donald Bradman. It goes a little while, but it was in the 70s. In those years, we used to invite an international cricketer from overseas, like we had Sir Garfield Sobers, Barry Richards. And this particular year, there was rumours going around that the visiting player would come from the Pakistan cricket team called Ahmed. Ahmed was his name. And the moment that Ian Chappell heard that, he was captain at the time, I was his vice captain, he went absolutely berserk. He said, that player's not coming here. I've played against him. He's all for himself. He's the jack man. He's this, he's that. And I thought to myself, and as did the players, this is going to be a year from hell. When Ahmed arrived, Ian didn't welcome him, didn't hardly speak with him. Our season started poorly. We lost our first 3 games, and we were due to go on our Eastern States tour, which meant going to Queensland, playing a country game, playing Queensland, then New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia home. I didn't go to Queensland. I was injured. Bobby Simonson took my place, and they were nearly beaten by a Queensland countryside. They lost to Queensland, and I was to go to the side in Sydney. And I was due to float on the Wednesday. I got a call on the Monday morning from Huey Millard from the Sacker saying that Sir Donald Bradman wanted to speak with me in his office. Now I'm Ken Cunningham. Why would Sir Donald Bradman want to talk to me? I have no idea. I had no idea what he wanted. Frightened the head out of me. I walked into Mr. Millard's office, and there he was, sitting in his grey suit. He had his hat on, vest and chain. He was very amicable to me. He said, Ken, the reason I've invited you down is that there are rumours that have filtered back to us that they're thinking of this. The South Australian side is thinking of making Yunus Ahmed 12th man against New South Wales. I want you to give the message to your co-selectors, Ian and Greg Chappell, under no circumstances is he to be made 12th man. If we make him 12th man, it'll hurt our relationships with the Pakistan Cricket Board. I said, Sir Donald, that's fine. I thought no more about it. I flew to Sydney on the Wednesday, went to practice on the Thursday. the morning of match on the Friday, we're out having a warm up on the SCG. Ian Chappell says, KG, Greg, he goes to the roller in the middle of the SCG. I'll never forget it. I walked out there and Ian said to Greg, the toss, if I win it, Greg, what do I do? Greg said, bat. It'll be a bad wicket by the end of the third day. KG, what do you think? Bat. And he said to Greg, who's 12th man? He said, that's bloody easy. He said, that so-and-so Yunus Ahmed is 12th man. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. We can't do that. I said to Ian, told him about the meeting I had with Bradman. Under no circumstances are we to make Ahmed 12th man. He's got off the roller, walked over to me and he said, he's 12th man. I said, Ian, we're not talking about Billy Smith, we're talking about Sir Donald Bradman. And he was very firm in his statement that under no circumstances. He walked off the FCG, I followed him off like a little lapdog saying, Greg, talk to your brother, for goodness sake. We'll all be shocked by this. He's walked into the room, and normally when you make a man 12th man, you put your hand on the shoulder and say, look, bad luck today, son, you're 12th. He's walked in, Ahmed's in the corner. He walked up towards him and said, you're 12th man, and walked on. And Ahmed said, what? He said, you heard me, you're 12th man. He walked out. Anyway, we've gone out. Ian's won the toss. I'm sitting here. Ian's sitting in front of me, batting at 3. Johnny Corsby and Paul Galloway have gone out. Big Dave Renderberg's bowled 4 balls of the first over. The phone in the dressing room rings. The late, great Neil Hawke answered the phone. He said, hello. Oh, hello, how are you? Yes. Yes, I'll get him for you. He came over to the manager, we have a manager on tour with us. He said, you want it on the phone? It's Bradman. And I thought, God, strike me, Peak. What's happened here? He's gone to the phone. He said, Sir Donald, didn't say another word. Hung the phone up, came back, and he tapped Ian on the shoulder and said, that was Sir Donald Bradman, and he is livid. Absolutely livid. And Ian said, what about Ahmed, remaking Ahmed 12th man? And Ian said to the manager, he hasn't been on tour, he doesn't know what he's done, bang, 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 bang. Anyway, we got beat in Victoria, came back, and the day after I arrived back in Adelaide, I got a phone call from Hughie Millard again. Could I come down and see Sir Donald Bradman? I said, Mr. Millard, I don't really want to come down because it's not going to be a very nice meeting, I don't think. I've walked in, and the moment I walked in, Sir Donald Bradman was in. I'm talking about Sir Donald Bradman, of all people. He was sitting there, and he had a look of thunder on his face. He said to me, Ken, did you pass on my message to Ian and Greg about Yunus Ahmed? I said, Sir Donald, I did, but it went to a vote. Ken, it should never have ever got to a vote. My message was very clear, under no circumstances to make Ahmed 12th man. He said, this is created an enormous storm with the Pakistan Cricket Board. The Sackers are under heaps of pressure here. I told you, and specifically, no. Anyway, he said there'll be more to this, and I walked out. I was shaking like a leaf. He spoke to Greg, and Greg was like me, placid. He spoke to Ian, but that was fireworks. That was the start of the breakdown of the relationship with Sir Donald. He used to come into our room every morning of every Shield game at 10 o'clock, Sir Donald. He'd have his Jats biscuits and cheese. He'd have a black tea. From that day on, we never saw Sir Donald Bradman ever again come into our change rooms. It was a time from hell, I can tell you. My fault, exactly, yeah. He blamed me.
Sir Donald could be a little grumpy at times.
Grumpy? Jeez.
You will remember the television series Bodyline was on Channel 10. The first part was on a Sunday night and the second part was on a Monday night. And 20 minutes into the program, the phone rings, and I'm thinking, who is this idiot not watching? Hello? Oh, Pilko. You never corrected him. Pilko, close enough. Pilko, who's playing the part of the president of the Marylebone Cricket Club? I said, oh, Sir Donald, it's a Melbourne actor by the name of Frank Thring. And he said, oh, I knew his father. He used to own the Tivoli. What do you think of the program? Oh, interesting, and hung up. Met him some time later, and he said, Pilko, there were some things in the Bradman, it was called Bodyline. Was that right, Ken?
Bodyline.
He said, Jessie, Lady Bradman, didn't realise how handsome I was when I was young. Who played the role of me? I said it was a Glenelg boy by the name of Gary Sweet. He said, what did you think of the program? He said, well, Pilko, we had a bit of a laugh about it because according to Bodyline, John was born a year before we got married. Oh. And I said, are you still friends with Harold Larwood? He said, hello. When were you born? I said, no. He said, no, I'm not friends with Harold Larwood. He could be as grumpy as all hell. You'd phone, and Jessie, Lady Bradman, would always take the call, and you'd put the question to her, knowing that he's sitting alongside her, but would never, ever answer the phone. There's so many stories about Don Bradman. Some of them you can't be repeated, but quite a character. Speaking of characters, KG, you were great mates with Neil Curley and his wife
Barbara.
And yet he knocked you out at one stage of the game. When was that?
Well,
a lot of people wanted to do it, but
sitting here. Sorry.
So no.
Sitting here today, when I look to my right down there to those two goalposts, it happened about 15 metres in front of those two goalposts. It was in, and you think I'm making this up, but I'm not. This is exactly what happened. It was in 1964. It was the prelim final being played here, South versus Sturt. Now, South in 63 finished bottom under Bill Southern as coach. West Adelaide and Neil Curley fell out. Curls asked for a clearance, was cleared to South Adelaide as their captain coach. He was the coach of South Adelaide, and the day was a shocker. Raining, the centre pitch in those days when it got wet was like a mud heap, and it stunk like you wouldn't believe. And the first half, I'm the umpire. I'm having a shocker. Every time I blew the whistle, I wished to goodness I could have swallowed the bloody thing. And to make matters worse, Neil Curley's running around behind me saying, don't look after those eastern suburbs, so-and-so. Give the working class man an opportunity, KG, for a so-and-so change. And he went on and on and on. As we walked off at half-time, I said to Neil Curls, hey, mate, enough's enough. You worry about coaching South Adelaide, I'll worry about umpiring. He said, you more than need to worry about umpiring, you need to umpire the bloody game properly. Walked off, came back, and started the third quarter. Soapy Cantilla, it was the ruckman, was throwing the ball up, got the tap down to Ian Day, right out of the middle here at the Adelaide Oval, gone like a scalded cat with the mongrel punt kick down to where those two goal posts are there. It's raining. I'm caught behind. I put the head down, bum up, made a beeline for the players, 8 or 9 players around the ball there. I put the whistle to my mouth to play, and bang! Next thing I know, I'm being walked off the ground here by 2 South Adelaide trainers to take no further part in the game. I had no idea what had happened, no idea. Anyway, you wouldn't want to believe it. South have got up and beaten Sturt, and they win their next game to play Port Adelaide in the grand final. I'm appointed umpire to the game, provided I pass a fitness test out here in front of Phil Breed, the chairman of the umpires board. How I passed it, I don't know, but I did. So day of the game, in those days we used to inspect the hands and the boots of the players on the ground. Port Adelaide came out, did Johnny Carr, said to Jack, good luck. And there's Neil Curley going up and down his players saying he wants this, he wants that. and it wasn't a pretty picture. And I thought to myself, God, here we go, a bloody again with girls, more hassles. And his was the last hands and boot I'd look at. Did his right boot, left boot, look at his hands, which were ugly. They were going in about 400 different directions. And I said to Curls, good luck today, Curls. I said to Johnny Carl. He took a half a step towards me and said, KG, don't worry about this good luck so-and-so. I promise you, if you don't give us a go today, I won't knock you out in the third quarter. I'll knock you out in the effing first quarter. And South Adelaide won their first premiership in 30 years and haven't won one since. And when I used to meet Curls for coffee, that was the tone of the conversation. Hey, Curls, you're still bloody in the red by a long way. True story. It's in his book. He knocked me out in front of those two goals there. True story. Now, what would you get today if that ever happened in today's football? You'd never play again, would you?
You'd be out for a couple of weeks, yeah.
That's a true story.
Cage, moving on to the media, you worked with the late David Hooks, and that was a combination that worked well. After David's tragic death in Melbourne, you were offered the opportunity of working with Cornsey, and that didn't appeal to you one little bit. Why?
Well, David Whiteman was the general manager of 5AA at the time. Hooksy took up an offer to go to 3AW in Melbourne. And David Whiteman said to me, KG, who do you want to work with now that Hooksy's going? I said, look, I've got no idea, David. No one jumps out in front of me. I've got no idea. I said, look, it may be the end of the road. It may be time for me to pull the pin. I've had a good time at 5DN, good time at 5AA. I don't just want to work for the sake of working. I want to be confident that whoever I work with, we can do well. He said, well, look, think about it, for goodness sake. He came back 2 days later and he said to me, Cornsey. I said, what about Cornsey? He said, he's put up his hand. I said, I don't give a stuff if he's put up his hand. Are you telling me that he wants to work with me? He said, yes, he did. I said, no. He's a good bloke, but he's intelligent. He can speak on any subject. He's very opinionated. He writes a great article in the paper. If I sit at the other side of the microphone, here I am, a mumbling, stumbling dickhead that becomes an emotional dickhead at any time of the day. I slaughter the English language. I talk too quick. That is a recipe for disaster. No. Anyway, he's come back 2 days later and said, I want a favour. I want you to do a month of course. I said, I don't want to do it, David. He said, just do me a favour. A month. If it doesn't work, bye-bye. That was 35 years ago to this day.
How long did the partnership last?
35 years.
35 years.
It's still going.
Are you still friends with Cornsey?
Yeah, I tell him every day when he gets a bit stroppy with me. The first thing I say to him now, Studley, I'm working with you. I need a bit of leeway here. I just want to remind you, Studley, I've been with you longer than you've been with your 3 wives combined. But I've since changed that. I said to him the other day when he went off at me again, I said, now listen, Stud. He said, don't say that again. Don't say what you're going to say. I said, no, I've just got to say, update it. I've been with you longer than you've been with your 4 wives combined. He laughed. He thought it was funny. But I've got to say, Pilko, sorry. I've got to say, I love the bloke. I would do anything for him. I was sitting in a little dog box, which was our office. I heard some of his phone calls, and I won't go into details, but many a time I heard him on the phone say to an agent who wanted him to do a gig, a guest speaking spot, and he would say, how much? And he'd say, well, look, pay me 600 and send the rest to a former footballer who he was very good friends with, who was on hard times. Now, he didn't do that once, twice. He did it so many times. He's a softie. You know, Corgi can be different. No doubt about that. But he's got a heart of gold. And in his marriage breakup, he's been to hell and back. But the one thing he's done, and I'll say this, he stood by his kids. And any husband and father that does that has won me forever, I'm telling you. And he will be, as I said, I would do anything for him. And he's a very, 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 very nice person.
Wow. That's a rap and a half. Cage, how's he travelling these days?
Well, he's not travelling first class, Pilko, I can tell you. But it's amazing. I won't tell you what is said, but he came when it all exploded, him and Nick. I was in the kitchen at 5AA, and he gets in about an hour after I do. I'm sitting there, I'm having a cup of coffee, and he's over at the drain. And he said, she's left me. I said, what? Oh, she's left me. I said, who's left you? He said, Nicole. I said, yeah, pull the other leg, Studley. It plays Yankee Doodle Dandy. You've been overseas so many times, and that's how it all happened. And every Saturday, he would talk to me about it. And he beat the hell and back, but I tell you what, he's a great man. I'll say no more.
That's a rap and a half. Cage, you've played against the best and you've seen the best batsman you've ever seen.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I played in the Shield match in Perth. Was Barry Richards playing for South Australia, and he made 350 in a day. Now, teams don't make 350 in a day. He made 350. I know you don't believe me, but there was Mackenzie, there was Lilly, there was Locke, there was Sticks Brayshaw, and there was one other. It was a great WA attack, and he kept hitting Dennis Lilly back over his head into the Terry Printable stand, and there was Lilly walking back to his mark like this. I thought he did it all day, 350 in a day, and a great bloke.
A good bloke. Yeah.
Great bloke. Had a hard life.
What about the best bowler you've either played against or seen over the years?
Oh, that's stand alone, and there'll never be another one. Shane.
Warren. Yeah.
Oh, mate, if you've ever tried to bowl leg breaks, it's a very tough gig. Shane Warne, we'll never see another Shane Warne. His control, his variety, and his ability to work out a batsman was freakish. I don't know whether you saw a one-day game against New Zealand. It was on television. He was telling how he was going to bowl. He told us watching how we would bowl and how we'd get him out. The very next ball, the exact thing happened. He was we'll never see another Shane Warne ever again. Absolute freak, and I say that in a very respectful way. No doubt about that. No doubt.
Cage, you're getting paid this afternoon with a bottle of Rotarian Red. And put it down for 30 years and it should be okay.
Well, mate, I won't be here. Can I leave it to my grandkids? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I won't be here in 30 years.
It'll mature. It's not quite full, but it's nearly full. Speaking of money involved, I was in India recently, and the guest speaker, and he was boring and flat. One of the
like me?
No, not at all. One of the world's great batsmen in Sachin Tendulkar. And what do you think his fee was for the night?
I have no idea.
It was 13,000 American dollars. And he was boring as you've got no idea. But the crowd absolutely adored him, thought he was wonderful. He didn't tell any stories. And I said, what's the man worth? 13,000 American dollars. They said Sachin Tendulkar would be worth probably $60 million with sponsorship from Nike, from Coca-Cola, and from Air India. I said, what the hell is he doing speaking at a $13,000 gig? And they said he only does a couple of a year. And he said he does it as a favour. You'd remember this guy, Kapil Dev.
Kapil Dev, yes, I played against him out here.
Yeah.
Good bowler.
And but Sachin, the crowd, I suppose a couple of thousand people there, and they were hanging on every word.
Well, he is a legend, Pilko. There's no doubt about it. He's arguably the best player next to Bradman, I would suggest.
He's 5'4", 5'5".
Doesn't matter. He still hit the ball in the middle of a bat many times.
Ian and Greg Chappell, entirely different personalities?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
Let's take Ian first of all.
Grumpy.
Grumpy. And Greg?
Greg Greg is very amicable these days. Very amicable these days. He was a bit difficult in his early days playing and so forth, but he's good. Ian was tough, but fair, but grumpy. I can tell you, he was grumpy. He when we played Victoria, he used to fight with Keith Stack or something chronic. Verbal, boom, 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 boom. I used to say when I was batting with him, he'd be having a crack at Stacky and Connolly, the fast bowler, and they're bouncing the crap out of him, but also bouncing the crap out of me. And I used to say, hey, Chappelli, for Christ's sake, don't stir them up. They're bouncing me. If they're bouncing you, I'm not abusing them.
Cage, I know that as a Shield cricketer,
yep,
you'd have to take time off work. You were with the gas company in those days?
Yeah.
And it actually cost you money to play Shield cricket. And Ian Chappell went to Bradman and put that argument to him and got thrown out.
Well, he did. And it's an amazing story because I'd been to New Zealand and I came back to the second side and I was told by SO Oil Company that no longer can I have time off to play cricket. I had to make a decision whether I worked there or whether I didn't. And I'd had a fair tour of New Zealand. I spoke to my wife, and I'll tell you a story about her before we go. She's beautiful, beautiful. And and she said, look, hey, you want to play cricket? You play cricket. You'll get a job. I couldn't get a job because I wanted time off to play cricket. I rang Ian Chappell and said, Ian, I'm going to unfortunately announce my retirement. I can't get a job. And then I got a call from both Bradman and the general manager of the gas company at the same day. Bradman rang me in the morning, and the manager of the gas company rang me in the afternoon to say that Bradman has spoken to him about a job. Cut a long story short, they employed me and gave me time off, and it was a wonderful, wonderful part of my life.
Because of Bradman.
Yeah,
now,
Bradman.
Unfortunately, she died back in 2015, was a heavy smoker, but loved by everybody, especially you and the family. Sandy, your wife.
Well, and let me put, I'll get emotional here, because I owe her everything, everything. You met her, Pilko, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't have married a nicer human being if I walked the world. Walked the world. I couldn't have possibly done what I've been lucky enough to do, and in many cases not good enough, if it wasn't for Sandra. And I can recall when it all unfolded. This is the highlight of what she did for me. It was a Friday. I was working for Noel Teasdale at the Newmarket Hotel. I'd gone broke. I'd worked with Noel Teasdale, Lindsay Head in the Angus Hotel. We'd gone broke. That's another story. I paid the butcher. I paid the vegetable man. I had $20 in my pocket. Drove home, and Noel rang me. Noel Teasdale rang me. What are you going to do work-wise? I said, I've got nothing. He said, well, look, come and spend some time at the Newmarket. I said to Sandra, is that all right? And she said, yeah, just go there. And on a Friday, the phone rang. It was Phil Ridings wanting to talk to you. He was the chairman of the South Australian cricket selectors. He said, "You got time for a cup of coffee, KG?" I said, "Yeah." He had a business in King Street. Drove around, had a cup of coffee, and we're sitting there and chatting. He said, "KG, World Series cricket's here. We're losing Ian Chappell, Greg Chappell, Ashley Mallett." He said, "I've met with my co-selectors and we'd like to offer you to come back and play state cricket. You're still playing with Sturton District to captain the South Australian Shield side." And I said to Phil Ridings, "Phil, I'd love to do it. As a kid growing up, all I wanted to do was to play state cricket." He said, "Right, don't tell anybody. We'll announce it next Wednesday in the boardroom. I'll get Gordon Swartz in." Went around to the teaser, told him. He said, "Can we sit down and have a bottle of wine over lunch to celebrate?" Yep. Sitting down having a bottle of red, and the lady on the switchboard came to the table and said, "KG, there's a Marty Smith on the phone for," and I thought, "Who's Marty Smith?" And I thought about it. I'd met him once. He worked at 5DN. He writes on this day in the Advertiser, that Marty Smith. And I'd met him at Telethon where Nine and Dan got together. Went round there and walked in to Paul Linkson and went upstairs, sat there, and we were just chatting. And he said, "KG, the reason I want to talk to you is I've just returned home from America to find out what is making news radio-wise in America." He said, "The thing that's going gangbusters is sport talk on afternoon radio." And I'm thinking to myself, why is he telling me this? I couldn't give a stuff about American radio. I only worry about only 5DN and Frank Sinatra and all those people. I don't worry about that in America. He said, "It's going absolutely gangbusters." He said, "I've just spoken to Marty over the last couple of days. We want to introduce that format to my station here at 5DN. It's never been done before on Australian radio. It's a risk that I want to take and believe will work." And he said, "We want to offer you the job to host it." I burst into laughter. I said, Paul, I've never worked in radio. How can I host a show that's never been done in Australia before? It'll last a day with me there. I'm a mumbling, stumbling, emotional dickhead. It'll last 5 minutes." He said, "Well, we're prepared to take that punt." He said, "Look, think about it over the weekend. I'll need an answer by Monday." I've gone home, told Stan about it. We've talked about it all over the weekend. I've got up Monday morning. I said, "No, I'm going to take the state captaincy. It's 3-year contract." Stan, bless her heart, walked out from the bedroom, and this I never heard this before in my life from her. I'm sitting at the bar, and I said, "Sam, I've made a decision. I'm going to take the state coaching job." She put her cup of coffee down, and she went bang on the breakfast table. I said, "Sam, what's that about?" She went bang again, and she said to me, "Why don't you," and I'll drop some words out of this, "why don't you, for the first," I can recite this word by word, "why don't you, for the first time in your so-and-so life, show some good old-fashioned so-and-so balls?" And I'm thinking, this is my beautiful wife. "Why don't you take, for the first time in your life, a risk? In fact, if you don't take that job, don't so-and-so come home." I took the radio job.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Now, just before I sit down, I just want to say one thing. Pilko, as I said, I owe everything. I wouldn't have been lucky enough, because she looked after the kids. So I just said to her, "Sweetheart, I'll take time off. You do what you want to do, what you love doing. I'll do what I want to love doing. That's being with the kids." And because of all that, if I work next year, it'll be my 50th year on South Australian radio. I know, it's all lonely.
All right. 50 years. We have to wrap it up. We've probably gone over time. Is there one really penetrative question you'd like to ask of KG?
Well, first things first, my relationship with girls on the football ground was very heated. Very heated. Off the ground, I loved the man, and I say that respectfully again. I used to see him once he retired and went up the river. He'd come down every fortnight to a little coffee shop. I was at the Henley High School, and we'd have coffee, and we'd talk about the things that we've spoken about in footy. And I remember the first day that he walked in, there was this coffee shop full of ladies, and they said to me, I'd been there before, and they said, "Is that Neil Curley with you?" I said, "Yeah, it's Curls, yeah, Curls." Well, I told Curls that. Next time he's walked in, he's gone to every bloody table in the coffee shop saying, "Anything you want to know about football, sweetheart, I'll help you. My name's Curly." But a lovely, lovely human being. Absolutely lovely human being. And yes, I'm lucky enough that when I do part ways, that right down as the players walk on to the ground, that's where my ashes will be spread, and I'm so grateful for that. Because this ground here had an enormous effect on my life and my family. They just one gone over time. When I played my first game and other games, the women couldn't sit in the stand in front of the players' area. It was only men only. We used to walk out, and the girls used to sit right between where the members' stand finishes there and the scoreboard. They used to sit on a rug. There was all the mothers and the kids would sit there. We'd walk out and clap them. It wasn't until later in the 70s that they were invited to be in the stand. Amazing, but it's just a wonderful part of my life. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians and guests, will you please stand and applaud our guest speaker for the afternoon, KG, Ken Cunningham.
Thank you very much. I've never ever been applauded off the ground in my life. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There we are, a Rotarian Red, dated 2027, drinkable in about 2034. KG, with our very warmest regards and thanks. Thank you.